My name is Dan Beck. I'm the director of LGRMS. And as I said previously, we're going to just really talk about the 2024 safety discount and the 2023 employee safety grant programs today. I'll be sending out an email to all those registered with a link to this particular webinar, the presentation itself, and a link to several other documents. So definitely don't hesitate to give me a call. And just Joe Dan is on the webinar also. I'm going to unmute him also, and he can comment. Joe Dan, you out there?
Hey Dan, how are you?
I'm doing well. Is this Joe Dan?
It is.
Hey, you sound different. You sound younger. Have you gotten younger, Joe Dan, since the last time I talked to you?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay. Very good. Let's go on to the next slide. Again, this is the brochure. You should have received this brochure. If you didn't, please let me know. We'll get you one of those. But the first page, we're just going to kind of go through a lot of the brochures, talk about those in general, and this is where your questions can come up and ask things. So the first page is extremely important. It says, please read. And the first bullet point up there is new law enforcement risk specialist. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later within the IRMA guidelines because that's where it's required. But it's going to require, this is going to be really similar to what we do from a safety coordinator perspective. But look forward to talking about that when we get to IRMA. The next one bullet point is regional training session requirements. So in the past few years, we've allowed you to use webinars as a replacement. COVID and other things, we'd really like to see you back in our regional training. So there's basically two different options. We want an employee from your organization and county authority to attend one of our regional training sessions. We have multiple ones of those throughout the years. I think we're going to have a contracts course. I think we'll have HR and so on. Each year, you will need to attend, have one person attend that. We'll have law enforcement, one of those particular courses, or complete the 3.5-hour online crisis coordinator training. Again, this is a training we started a few years ago. We really would recommend everyone within the county have at least 2 crisis coordinators, and again, one within the general organization and one within the sheriff's or police office. The vast majority of crises that occur are within law enforcement. So to have somebody in there that really, what the crisis coordinator training does is really helps that person identify what a crisis is and then what steps they should take in regards to communication. So it's really, it helps that person. So if there is a crisis, that we don't make it worse by our poor communication with the news media and others. And we have a contract with a crisis coordinator, crisis risk, which is a crisis management system, and they will again assist out on different claims. So those are very important, but we want to get people back to attending the regional training. The safety action plan for both insurance programs, we want to see one plan, and we'll talk about how you get to that particular plan. And it needs to be, a signed copy needs to be sent to me by April 28th. I'm in the process right now of sending out loss analysis. I hope to have those all done by the end of this week. So you should have your loss run and loss analysis for the information that you can complete your safety action plan by April 28th. Again, the complete eligibility requirements, the 2024 ACCGs program must be completed between October 3rd of 2022 and September 15th of 2023. So the expectation is this is not a one-time event. This is something that you have to do throughout that period of time. And we're going to, at one slide, we're going to talk about a calendar, which it talks about doing things on a quarterly basis, meetings and other things within the requirements. The expectation is before you send that safety discount, that you don't do everything right then. The expectation is you have a process in place that you will do these things on a continual basis throughout the year, and we'll talk about that. Apply the safety discount program. So, those people that are A+ personalities will say, well, I'm going to get the safety discount program or application done today. That is not what the expectation is. We want them submitted between August 1st and no later than September 15th. Again, if we get those today, they're not going to be complete. You haven't completed all the requirements. So we want them August 1st, no later than September 15th. So it gives you a kind of a month and a half window period of time to get that application in. But put that on your calendar. Right now, go into your Outlook calendar or whatever calendar you have, and on August 1st, say complete the application for the discount. It's a great thing to do. All these things that we talk about doing, which within the requirements, put them on your calendar and as a reminder to get these things completed, and it'll help you out a lot. The employee safety grant who qualifies for the 2024 discount will also be eligible for the 2024 safety grant. And again, we're going to talk about the 2023 safety grant. If you were eligible, or if you got if you met the requirements for 2023 within the discount program, then you are eligible for the 2023 grant. If you didn't, then you're not. So it's pretty simple and clear cut. And that's why the safety grant is so easy to apply for. And then all these programs you can see them electronically. You can go into the ACCG.org insurance sample policy program, and I'll show you what that page looks like. The next slide. And again, a great resource. You can see the safety discount program. So, versus having to have a paper copy of this, you can go in and download your discount programs. You can download the fillable safety action plan template. You can do the verification forms. You got additional items there, a whole list of documents that we'll talk about upcoming that you can use for your programs and or policies. Here's a question. Does the crisis coordinator program offer post credit? I do not believe we have post credit, but I think that's a really good question. We could get post credit, but we don't have anything at this point in time. I'm going to put that down as a question. So, Elisa, you get an A for that question.
And that might be a good opportunity for those that have issues with auto accidents to promote the LGRMS training through POST, the online driver training course.
So you want to talk about that now?
Do you have it on the agenda for later?
No, I didn't put that on there, but we can talk about it.
Yeah,
I think
give
it's
a
a
little
good thing
plug
to
for
do.
that.
So, again, as hopefully you all know, one of our largest claim risks, where we're seeing a lot of dollars associated with claims, is in motor vehicles, and specifically within law enforcement. So we worked with Georgia Sheriff's Association to develop an online driver training program. It's about 4+ hours. We then worked with Gypstick to place this particular online interactive training program on the Gypstick webinar portal. And it's available for everyone free of charge. It's 4 hours of post credit automatically. And what we're offering as an incentive is a $1,000 grant for any sheriff's office that completes 80%, has 80% of their driving staff complete this training. Again, they can use this $1,000 towards any training activity within the sheriff's office. So great incentive. Have had lots of great feedback in regards to the training, lots of great feedback in regards to the grant process. If you are our member, you have to be a member of the ACCG workers' compensation pool to be eligible for this, but it's extremely easy. And I've sent out multiple communications regarding that particular program. So please encourage your sheriff's office to take the training and complete the grant application. Here's a question. If we have a sheriff's office and a police department, can we apply the $1,000 grant for each agency? So that's a great question, Holly. And I would, again, I'm going to be requesting that we do allow police departments to receive that particular grant. So I think we'll have to go through the board to get that approval. Ashley, you want to answer that question?
Sure. I went back to look at the minutes recently from the IRMA board, and I'm sorry, the workers' comp board, and it specifically says the sheriff's offices. But I will be glad to. I think it makes a lot of sense for those few counties that have police departments to make that available to them as well. But we do have to get board approval. So I will I will ask for the board's approval for that, and hopefully that will be a positive, but we do have to go through that step first. But it will certainly, I mean, we've had a lot of great feedback about it, so hopefully it will reduce auto claims, which impact auto liability, auto physical damage, and workers' compensation. So it's a win-win on both sides of the house for IRMA and for workers' comp. It's just workers' comp has the money dedicated towards it. And thank you, Dan, for all your work on that project.
Now, thank you for mentioning it. And again, a great program. And ultimately, it's supposed to be really a primer for when we do our hands-on driving simulator training. The driving simulator training reinforces the principles within that online training. So this is again eligibility requirements, and it really talks about the tremendous discount you get for both IRMA and counties only, and then GIRMA or for workers' compensation, GSI, WCF program, 7.5 and 5% respectively. I don't know anything else you want to talk about in regards to those things, Ashley? Again, we want to see your application verification form completed and submitted by September 15th. That's a big piece. And there's locations where you can get that. So the safety coordinator must be appointed. This is a long-standing requirements. But I'll just put commentary on there. We would really like to see a safety coordinator that has leadership skills. This person, I've been told at certain points in time, some safety coordinators are the person that walked in front of the door at the wrong time. And that's not really what we want. We want somebody that has strong leadership skills, and it's not necessarily going to do all this stuff, but it's going to be able to help coordinate it. Somebody that is really good at time and project management, and we're going to talk about some of the requirements. The next bullet point: attend the safety coordinator module 1, 2, and 3. Again, if you've already completed that, those are the basic requirements. 1, 2, and 3. We do offer additional courses: Safety Coordinator 4, Safety Coordinator 5, and Safety Coordinator 6. To meet the requirements of the discount, you only have to attend Safety Coordinator 1, 2, and 3. Let's say you're a new safety coordinator. Do you have to take all those in the same year? The answer is no. So the expectation is you're a new safety coordinator. You take one per year for the first 3 years. They don't have to be in sequence. that would meet the expectation. Bullet point number 3, safety coordinator training and implement safety rules. So really the expectation is you're going to have training for folks, but more importantly, you're going to post some workplace rules within the job sites, and really specifically on how to report on the job incidents, so they know how to report those, who to report it to, and in regards to documentation. That should be posted. Coordinate safety inspections. So again, we expect that to be periodic, but it really should be based on the equipment and on what you're doing. So some things you might have an annual inspection. Other things you might have it every 6 months. Other things you might want to do it on a weekly or pre-use basis. So let's say motor vehicles. Some of those things you might want to do more frequently the others. And it's really kind of up to you to develop your inspection program based on the things you're doing. What will you be looking for? From my perspective, it's good to look at general things like fire extinguishers. Probably more important that you have a inspection documentation that really looks at where you've had some of your issues. So for instance, let's say you've had a couple slips and falls in the same area. You should probably look at that on a periodic basis to make sure that those issues are corrected. Let's say that you've had housekeeping issues in the past. Maybe you want to mandate a weekly housekeeping tour within particular departments, depending on if they've had issues in the past. So I would customize it based on your risks, based on where you're seeing issues. Make it valuable. Don't do a cookie cutter approach that doesn't add any value. Do things that are going to help reduce risk within your group. And again, you can contact me for more help. I can help you with that. We can provide templates to help with that. You can talk to your risk consultant. We'll go from there. Coordinate departmental quarterly safety meetings. Again, the expectation is on a quarterly basis, you're going to sit down with all your employees. You're going to provide them with some level of training. We provide some of this training, our toolbox talks and other things within our shared document. We have some videos available. You can provide those. What we expect to see from that is basically a list of the topics that you're covered, and then a sign-up sheet for all those that participated in that training. And the expectation is that you're going to do this for all your employees within your county and or authority. And then coordinate quarterly safety committee meetings to review incidents and accidents. Really this is kind of a safety committee meeting. You're going to look down. A lot of people look at incidents and accidents. You might talk about inspections. You might talk about training, whatever that might be, but you're going to meet on a quarterly basis and you're going to say, okay, these are the incidents we've had during this week or this quarter. Have we done a good investigation on this? What's the corrective action? Are we following up with the corrective action? Do we need to do additional training? What's other corrective actions do we need to take place? Are there inspections that we should be completing? Use this as a holistic program. And again, like the safety coordinator, people, they don't necessarily have to be management personnel, but they all should be good leaders, people that are good at managing things versus the person that was unlucky enough to walk by the door. So ideally, you'd have a member from each of your particular departments participating in this. They would be passionate and they'd have the skills to help drive initiatives within the safety committee. Again, employees from the organization must attend a minimum of one training session administers. And again, this goes back to the regional training piece. We don't allow for, again, webinars are not going to be a substitute this year. So look at all the regional training that's being conducted and make sure you get somebody signed up for that regional training. It doesn't have to be you. It can be one member of your particular. So if you got law enforcement, you got HR, you got other topics, it can be different individuals for each of those. but the expectation is you'll at least have one. It's free training, it's quality training. We spend a lot of money on this particular training through getting rooms, through paying for speakers, whatever it might be. Make sure you're taking advantage of it. It's a great training to take advantage of. The number 3 here, members agree to cooperate and support the efforts of local government risk management services and our recommendations. So the expectation is we're going to send recommendations to you after we make a visit. You don't have to complete all those recommendations based on our recommendations. They are recommendations, but you do have to answer those. So if we make a recommendation that you have to repair a piece of equipment or put in a program or make a change, you don't have to necessarily make that change, but you at least have to say we are considering this, or based on our budget, we're planning to complete this at this particular time. And that's the expectation. Number 4 on this page is members shall implement and oversee a drug-free workplace. Again, you have to have that drug-free workplace notice in employee application or personnel policy. You have to have a drug-free workplace policy, and you can find that drug-free workplace policy at the ACCG.org/insurance. Again, sample policies, and all of those policies are there and others, and I'll send you that link to be able to access that. The seatbelt policy, again, the expectation is you're going to have a policy, and I can send you one. You can find samples of this policy at that sample policy piece. But we want people to wear their seatbelts. Why do we want them? Because if they're involved in an incident and they're not wearing their seatbelt, there's a much higher likelihood of them being seriously injured and additional workers' compensation. So 1, have a policy. 2, have some way that you communicate that. It's an important topic. So to tell people, wear your seatbelt, from my perspective, you can do that, but you should do some kind of training regarding this that ensures people know that it's valuable to not only the organization itself, but also it should be invaluable to the employee. And then, again, this is not something we necessarily going to look at, but I would highly request that you do something to enforce this. The biggest poison to any organization is you have a policy and you don't enforce it. If you have employees that aren't wearing seatbelts and you see them and they don't have any consequences associated with that, then what does that tell those employees? It tells them this is not very important to us as an organization. So I would have consequences and I would hold them accountable, and specifically leaders, supervisors, department managers, they should be held accountable. So a lot of members do a good job. They will actually, if there's a parking lot where people are coming in, they'll come in when people typically drive in, and if they're not wearing a seatbelt, they'll have a conversation with them, say, hey, if we see this again, there's going to be a higher level of discipline associated with that. That's been an effective way of getting people engaged in using their seatbelts. Number 6 is a cell phone policy. Again, motor vehicle operation, one of our highest risks within our losses. And a lot of that is due to distracted driving, and a lot of distracted driving is due to cell phone policy. So we have a sample policy, and we would expect the same thing as with a seatbelt. You could do it actually at the same time. Have a policy, share that policy with your employees, have consequences with failure to follow that particular policy, and again, enforce it through visual inspections on a periodic basis. The safety action plan, and we're going to go through this a little bit more. It's going to really, based on this, we want to see it by April 28th, and I'm going to talk about this within the next few slides. This is the safety action plan. If you download that, it's fillable, so you can just type stuff in here easily. So we highly recommend that you type stuff just because it's easier for us to review. I got a question here. In the follow-up, could you share a link to training opportunities? I will do that. I'll share a link, but thank you. I'll put that on the list. Great question. So you can see here, we want the member name and the time period. So what year this will cover, 2023. You can put months, but just a calendar year is good. And we're going to talk about each of these particular things. So in the bottom, you talk the print name and signature. We'll talk about that, the importance of that in upcoming slides. Here are some frequently asked questions, and I'm not going to go through all these just for the sake of time. But what is the purpose of the safety action plan? So it's like anything else. We manage what is measured. If we're not measuring safety, if we don't, then nobody thinks we care about it. So the expectation is you need to know where we want you as a member and leadership, especially, to know where their losses are within the specific departments. Where's your high opportunity departments? And then within each of those high opportunity departments, what's driving those particular losses? What's the category that's driving those? And then ultimately to put a plan in place to address those. So the premise is, if you know where those losses are, you know you're starting to focus on those losses, that those losses will, once that attention is being paid and you put resources and a plan to address those, you're going to see a reduction in those particular losses. And that's really the premise behind it. Who develops the safety action plan? So the expectation, from my expectation as the safety coordinator, the expectation is that you're not going to do this. The expectation is you're going to work with the departments that are those high risk opportunities, and you're going to work with them to develop that particular action plan. So you might get the loss analysis first. You might see that it's the sheriff's office and public works that has the two biggest opportunity, and then you would meet with those leadership teams to talk to them about that. Whereas a fillable action plan, you can find that at that on that link that I had showed you earlier. Loss trend analysis, again, I'll be sending that out in March. As I said, you should be receiving it by the end of the week. How are the focus offices and departments identified? So ideally, you would focus on those departments that have the highest potentially total incurred or the biggest number of claims, but those don't always relate to your biggest risks. So a lot of times you might have a one-off thing. So you have to look at your losses and determine really where your biggest risks are. And your losses might not even reflect where your biggest risks are. The other thing you might want to consider is who's going to cooperate with you. So the sheriff's office is probably our biggest opportunity, but as you know, some of you do, some of you don't have a tremendous relationship with the sheriff's office. For instance, if you're going to the sheriff's office and they're not willing to participate in the process, I would ask them to sit down with them. I'd ask to sit down and show them the losses. I'd ask them to participate in the action plan. But if they are not willing to participate in the action plan, then we would say go to another department leader to do that. How are the loss types focus identified? Again, you're going to look at the department, and we're going to talk about some of those in just a moment. I'm going to kind of go through a lot of the action plan stuff, and I'll talk about that later. So this is a loss analysis. As you can see, this is the top of the page. It talks about, this is for workers' compensation. This particular member has 293 claims over this 3-year period for $418,000 in total incurred. The rates you see here are for your county. You got the 2019 rate, 2020, 2021, and then the overall 3-year rate So you would, it's really the number of claims greater than $500. So if you have all your workers' compensation, you take the number of claims. So if you look at the total number there, you have 293 claims within that 3-year period. There's going to be a percentage of them that are above $500. So let's say 60% of those claims will be above $500. You would take that 60% of those claims divided by the number of employees you have, and that will give you the claims rate. And it gives you kind of a ratio to be able to compare yourself versus other members of the same size. So I'm getting over a cold, so I excuse me if my voice starts to go out. In this particular case, this was a larger member, and their rate is a 3.14% versus the extra large members of 800 or 8.48. So comparatively to your extra large members, which this is a member was, they're doing pretty good. Meaning that they have 3.5 people with claims over $500 per 100 employees, versus the extra large group has about 8.5 claims over $500 per 100 employees. This shows you the analysis by department and or office. And as you can see here, the sheriff's office has 34% of total incurred and 93 or 32% of the claims. So if you look at this just at top from a work comp perspective, you'd say, okay, sheriff and fire is probably where we need to focus on. But let's say that you look through some of the numbers in those departments, and the fire department was all their claims are related to a storm that happened in 2020, and that was 70 of their claims were in that particular thing. Then you're not going to probably focus on that. That's not a good example because that's not a work comp claim. But the premise is if you don't think the trends are there, then you'll go to another department to focus in on. This talks about, again, your loss analysis. This is by program and contact type. So you have the program are really big buckets, ergonomics, law enforcement ops, slips and falls, and so on. And then the contact types are really part of, they are part of a smaller subset that fall in here. So the SF, same level, goes into slips and falls. The ergo is lifting. So there's different categories. With LE is law enforcement ops is foot pursuit, arrest, and altercations. So you can really see where these are. And this is for the entire organization as a whole. Again, you can look at, this is the sheriff's office by the same piece. So it looks like within this, LE ops is our big opportunity. And you go down on this side, it'll tell you that foot pursuits are 47,000, arrest and altercations. You have 45 incidents at 47,000. So from my perspective, that might be some place you want to focus on. This is property and liability, or your IRMA claims. Again, same member. They had 250 claims at $2.6 million over that same 3-year period. And you can see the rated claims, overall rate about a 3 per 100 employees. Again, you look at extra large, 3 is the rate for the extra large. So they're about the same as the average group. This is these are different rates based on overall motor vehicles. And again, you can see the 3-year rate of a 2.70 versus the extra large, much higher in this particular member at a 1.45. So that might be an area you want to focus in on. And then you go with law enforcement motor vehicle claims rates, again, measured the same way as all the other rates. Their rate is a 4.80 versus extra large of a 2.29. That's where I would focus. That's a big opportunity. You can see that the sheriff's office leads with $1.7 million, or 65% of total incurred. They have 74 claims. You got water and wastewater at 480,000 at 45 claims. Those are probably be your biggest opportunities there. Again, you look at all claims, it talks about motor vehicles, the big one, and it breaks some of the motor vehicles down there. You can see on the other side. And then you look at the sheriff's office. Again, motor vehicles are the big piece. So what can you do? You can look at the different contact types, lane change, pursuits, rear-ended, backing, fixed objects, our motor vehicle hit by another vehicle, hit pedestrians. All those are motor vehicle related. And they, again, it's a pretty easy story. You can see pursuits are about 1 million. They got 10 claims, $1 million. What does that tell you? That's where the issues are. So this member has both work comp and property liability. Work comp was about $300,000. Property liability is about $2.5 million. I would focus on the property and liability claims within my action plan. And I would look at these particular losses within sheriff's office and water, wastewater. And again, you can kind of look at this. The wastewater, they had kind of general liability. Their big one, water and sewer, was the big thing. So they had 22 claims for $273,000 within water and sewer. So that might be some place that you would look. So if you look at the action plan itself, and I'm going to send you a link. We're going to do an entire hour on developing your safety action plan. But you can see this action plan. You got your county, you got the year up there. You got the first loss trend analysis, the sheriff's office, motor vehicle operations at 95% within that particular. That's a big, that's where you should be focusing. And then you look at the water and sewer. You got sewer backups at 57%, fire property 27%, and you get 11% for motor vehicles. Within the sheriff's office, you can really develop and implement a motor vehicle policy. So we'll talk about this within the IRMA requirements, but you really need a motor vehicle policy if you're going to help manage that, to talk about how you look at MVRs, how you qualify and disqualify riders or drivers. How do you do inspections on your vehicles? What kind of training do you do? And that we have sample policies for each, and I'll send you a link for those. And you got post-incident investigation and train on drivers in defensive driving. Those are all things that you can do, but we'll be able to help you in all these particular things. Again, the focus on wastewater was conduct and scan sewer systems to reduce the risk of sewer system overloads. The expectation is that your top elected official or your administrator or manager is going to print their name and then sign it. And then the leader of each of those particular departments' offices are going to put their name and sign it. Why do they do that? It's because we want accountability. We want the overall leadership of your county and or organization to know what's going on, where are your issues, where are your losses, and do they have a plan? And that person should hold those individual leaders accountable to meet those particular expectations. Again, you have the sheriff or the leadership team who's going to participate in that, and the water and wastewater department leader for the other one on this particular case. So this is, again, regarding the property and liability or IRMA policy manuals, same requirements as we've had before: personnel policy manuals, hiring, termination, employee supervisor training, harassment, EEOC and discrimination, email and internet policies, drug-free workplace, and motor vehicle policies. Again, we have all those and know you can find those within the links. And again, don't use them wholesale. Go through and customize them so they meet your particular needs. Have your attorneys, your county or authority attorneys review those to make sure that you are going to be able to meet those expectations within those policies. The worst thing you can do is have a policy in place and say you will do A, B, and C, but you do not have the resources to do A, B, and C. We want to make sure you're going to have a policy that you are able to follow and you have the resources to follow.
Dan,
Again,
can I give you?
Go ahead.
Can I give you a quick break?
Go ahead.
I thought it'd be a good opportunity to mention on this particular page that we, as IRMA members, you guys have access to a resource. It's the HR helpline, an employee legal service basically for your HR experts there in your county. Sometimes they may just want a second opinion on something. Sometimes they might find themselves in a place that they haven't had to address before. So just please know that's available to you. They can't really help you rewrite your personnel policy manuals and any other manuals, but if you had a question regarding a certain piece of your manual, they could address that. So it's not meant to be a wholesale, just call them for whatever, but they are there for you to help with manuals and to help with different situations. So they're actually the ones that we periodically run these manuals by. And so they have helped us, try to keep those updated. So hopefully it's a good resource for all of you as well as the helpline.
Very good. Thank you, Ashley. Great point. So again, within the sheriff's office, they must have a written policy manual that covers all these particular things. We want to, we've added, not this year, but previous years, the motor vehicle operations, pursuit, use of force, arrest, and internal affairs, all policies that have the biggest impact in regards to potential risk for the sheriff's office. Harassment training is to be provided to all employees and documented on an annual basis. Again, I know we have provided a lot of that training. We only have so many resources. I know Chris has trained 4,000 people in 2020. Chris Ryan has trained 4,000 people in 2022. You don't have to have a live training. We do have those videos available that we do webinars on an annual basis. You can have people attend that training, which would be the same. We do have some video training that's available. Local GovU provides that training. So let us know what we can do to assist you in regards to meeting that requirement. Again, within the county facility jails, we want to see you have a policy and that you train staff annually on inmate medical, civil rights, emergency action plan, and jail suicide. These are our biggest opportunities for risk within county jails. Here is the new law enforcement risk specialist, the LERS as we call it, must be appointed by the sheriff's office from the command staff or leadership team. The LERS must attend a 6-hour training course, sign up for Power DMS, and implement the prescribed law enforcement risk management process. So this is really similar to what we do from a safety coordinator perspective. In the past, we have not had a tremendous amount of success in integrating within sheriff's offices. So we want to identify somebody within the command staff in leadership within the sheriff's office that will wear the hat of the law enforcement risk specialist. We'll provide them with a 6-hour training. We just completed a block of those, had some good attendance, but we're doing some more. So look towards that on our training event calendar, which I'll send a link to in the email. And they're going to sign up for Power DMS as a part of that. This is really a system that allows you to help manage programs and manage training, and it's free up to a certain level. And then there'll also be some prescribed law enforcement risk management process that we'll recommend that that the sheriff's office goes through. Again, the hope of this is that we'll have better communication with the sheriff's office. They will have somebody internally that is working on a day-to-day basis on risk management and ultimately see a reduction in claims. MVR reports must be obtained on all employees before they are permitted to drive county vehicles. Again, it's really important that you have a policy that talks about this. When you do this, at what point in time, frequency during the year, and then what criteria do you use to remove people from driving. So in order to be able to manage this, you have to have a policy, and those sample policies provide that information. Public transit services. Now, this is a new expectation that we sent out last year, and basically we said that you had to have cameras within the compartments of public transit. We had, really, this is promoted or prompted by a couple incidents where we had $1 million claims due to somebody that was being transported in a public transit vehicle. They weren't properly secured. There was an incident, that person was injured because they weren't properly secured. So we put this in place that they have to maintain documentation showing that all transit drivers are current in the past driver training program, including hands-on wheelchair securement. And again, we've done some surveys on this. That training is available out there. You can provide it. For the most part, everybody's doing a pretty decent job of getting their folks trained on that. Maintain the training documentation showing all drivers have annual hands-on training and for wheelchair lifts, tie downs, and passenger restraints, and maintain at least 6 months of documentation for all daily pre-inspection lift in all lifts, tie down, passenger restraints. So those were pretty easy to comply with. The issue that we had was maintain at least 6 months of camera recordings for devices inside transit units and have documented retention policy. A lot of people were concerned with that because of the amount of money it would take to manage these records. So the exception is, if you're not able to meet that requirement, then you must report the claim to the ACCG Claims Administrator Services and send the recorded video for any of the following types of incidents. So any reported or identified slips or falls during the vehicle operation or entry or exit of the vehicle, any reported or identified damage incident to the passenger's mobility equipment, any reported identified altercations, any reported or identified injuries or property damage, any reported or identified medical or health incidents, any refusal of a passenger to buckle up or secure mobility equipment, any failure of the passenger restraint straps or tie down seat belts after any testing for cause or documented safety vehicle deficiencies, any vehicle crashes, collisions, or sudden stops. So again, if you have any of those incidents, you need to make sure that your drivers are trained, that they report those incidents to you, that you get a copy of that particular video, and you're sending it directly to the claims. Even if they haven't reported a claim, even if they haven't reported an incident or made a complaint, if that driver observes any of these particular instances, they need to notify you. You need to fill out a report, and you need to send the recorded video to the claims administrator so that they can keep it in case there is a future claim. This is a timetable, and this is what I was talking about. And I'm not going to go through this, but I would highly suggest that you take all these things each quarter, put these on your calendar to make sure you're meeting these expectations. Plan these things out. Plan out your safety committee meetings. Plan out your quarterly departmental safety meetings. Plan out the audits and the inspections and everything else on here. Make sure it's on your calendar. whether you have an electronic version or a paper version, so that you are putting this into place so that you don't have to wait until the end of the year or when we do the verifications that this is going to be been complete. You'll feel so much better about this and so much better about yourself if you put these all down right now and you plan for the future. Because the expectation is, as I said, that you're not going to do this one time a year. This is going to be a process that is throughout the year. Again, the last bullet point here: submit safety discount verification forms between August 1st and September 15th. The 2023 Employee Safety Grant Program, again, very similar to what it was the previous years if you applied. So if you met the requirements, as we said before, of the 2023 Safety Discount Program, then you'll be eligible for this. The ACCG GSIWCF Employee Safety Grant Program provides financial assistance to members for the purpose of reducing employee injuries. So the discount is very valuable, and it gives big chunks of money to your organization, your county, your authority. But a lot of people don't see that money. So the premise is we'd like to find some way of recognizing the work that your employees are doing. So they complete a great action plan, they can use this money towards that action plan, and that's actually what we'd like to see them do. Lots of different things that they can use it on. To be eligible, must be an active member as of the time of the distribution, must have earned the 2023 safety discount, as we talked about. And again, this is for work comp only. Must be current in payments of contributions. So pretty simple. If you've done those things, you are eligible. Again, the grant will be reimbursed and approved items according to the schedule. So there are different grant amounts based on the premium you have that you've paid. Again, it's based on a first come, first served basis, and all purchases must be made prior to October 31st, 2023. In the past couple years, because of the supply chain, we have made a couple exceptions for that, but I would highly expect that you submit your application as soon as possible, and we get that approval, and then you get those items purchased. And the quicker you can do that, the quicker we can get your reimbursement. How do I know my premium or grant reimbursement amount? Again, you can talk to your internal insurance contact. They should be able to tell you that. You can send me an email, and I'll send you that grant amount that you're available. But we will be sending, ACCG will be distributing that information with some other information on the grant within the next couple of weeks. So you'll be able to get your specific amount within the next couple of weeks, and that will help you complete your application. So requirements: we want to see a safety action plan, and ideally the items requested on the grant would correlate with the safety action plan you have. So you're looking at resources. You don't have to do that, but that's what we're looking for, and that's the ideal. If you're requiring, if you're going to purchase a complex equipment such as AEDs or trenching equipment or other things related to that, then we're going to want to see a standard operating procedure or policy on those. Again, the expectation is, I want a trenching box. Well, that's great. Have you trained anybody on how to use a trenching box? Do you have people designated to do this? How do we know those people? What are they going to do? When are they going to do it? So that's really the premise behind it. We want to see those policies so that so you don't get in more trouble by having that equipment. And again, you need a policy, let me know, and I will find you a sample policy that meets the expectation. Again, procedure: complete the employee safety grant application. It's going to be pretty simple. Include a copy of the safety action plan with your application. Include a list of items and their expected costs, and we're going to talk about that. Again, submit the application between April 1st and July 31st, 2023. Once you send in your application, Courtney Stepner will be sending you an email saying, hey, we received your application and everything's good, or we received your application and we need some items, you know, signatures on the action plan or something, signatures on the application are things that we see that are often needed. Distribution of grant funds, again, it typically takes about 4 weeks, depending on when you get us that information. We try to get, based on every step, we try to get that within 2 weeks. So if you send in the application, we try to respond within 2 weeks on that. We'll try and get that approved within 2 weeks. We'll send you that email. You send us, once we send you the proof of purchase, or once we send you the congratulatory, you send us that proof of purchase, we try to get you paid within 2 to 3 weeks after that. This is a list of pre-approved items. It has such categories as chemicals, electrical, ergonomics, general safety, and so on and so on. You can see more. Again, I will be including a link to this particular within the email I send. These things have been pre-approved, so you'll know kind of what you would be looking for. What you're looking for is not limited to this. And actually, if you think there's a better idea for reducing workers' compensation or employee safety risk, let us know. We'd love to see you submit that item. So you have specifically designed ergonomic equipment, or you want to do something to help reduce slips and falls, whatever that might be. Or you have, you know, in the past, you've had people climb up ladders to conduct inspections, and you want to put a platform up there so they don't have to use a ladder. Those are all good things. Or maybe you want to put lower, instead of having to conduct an inspection that's very high up in the air, you want to lower that area so that you can conduct the inspection without climbing. Those are things that we would we'd like to see you guys do. This is a congratulatory email. Again, what we within this will say that, hey, we would like to see you've been approved for this amount. So you can see in this particular case, the items they have been approved for is the automatic dispenser and hand sanitizer and the personal protective equipment for up to $2,500. These things, when you submit those, and we'll talk about, they don't have to be specific. They don't have to be extremely accurate. And if you are eligible for $2,500, I would suggest you put $5,000 worth of items on your list. And the reason be, because let's say you're not approved for one of the items, you can just say, we'll approve the other items, and then you can purchase $2,500 up to that amount. Again, we wanted to see the proof of purchase reconciliation document. We're going to talk about that. And then again, if possible, you can send a picture of your employees using the equipment for future publications. This is a copy of the proof of purchase reconciliation document. You will send this to me after you have received the approval email. I'll actually send you an Excel spreadsheet in there. The purpose of this is to ensure that you and I are on the same page. If a lot of times people will send me receipts, they'll just send me a handful of receipts, 20, 25 receipts. I don't know what they're looking for. They'll have five on one receipt. They'll have 5 different things. I won't know what specific. So the expectation in this is that they will have for each of those receipts, they'll have the receipt numbered. They'll have the item on this list numbered. They'll name the item and then the amount that they paid for that item. I'll be able to tally this up quickly and then check that against your receipts or proof of purchase documentation to ensure that you get a prompt return on your reimbursement. Again, this is the grant application, pretty easy. We do want, if you look at that, we want your name as the contact or whoever's doing that, email, so we can contact them electronically via email. That's the easiest way, and your phone number in case we really need to pick up the phone and give you a call. You got the item name and how it's going to reduce the risk and the estimated cost. We'll talk about that. And then at the bottom, it says the member approval submittal. Again, we want this either the chairman or executive director or somebody in leadership. And the purpose behind this is the fire department sends this in, they have their items, and then the sheriff's office or somebody else within your organization, Public Works, wants something totally different. We want one application, and it should be looked at by a centralized person to say this is good and approved that way. So they're not multiple applications from different departments. And you can see that just goes through that list. We talked about this. So within the items requested, item name, it doesn't have to be the manufacturer name. It can be a very, very generic name. We want an explanation of what it's going to do, because sometimes you'll have something and I don't know what it does. I have no idea. We want you to think. So let's say you have body armor. That's the item. And let's say that you say, okay, it's going to reduce the risk of somebody getting shot. Pretty easy. And then the estimated cost. You don't have the exact cost there. We're not looking for that, and nor we're going to penalize it for you. But I would suggest, again, you got $10,000 worth of grant items. I'd put $15,000 worth of requests. Then you can go back and prioritize that based on what you need. Hey, all these items have been approved, or 7 out of 10 items have been approved. This is what we're going to get based on what our priority is. Ideally, you'll follow the action plan as we talked about. Think big and risk reduction. What can I impact the most? So, look at what you can invest in and what's going to have the biggest impact in regards to reducing risk within your organization. Again, once approved, you can prioritize. As I said, put as many items as you can on there. Exceeding the amount you're requesting, you can prioritize those, what you're going to purchase after those have been approved. Would highly recommend that you get a safety committee to help with the risk analysis and likelihood and severity to help prioritize what items you're going to do and help you with the action plan. Get them involved. This gives them some level of ownership. It allows them to participate in the process, and it's a great way to help develop culture. This is, again, the approval. We talked about that. Important dates. Again, ACCG will begin accepting applications for the grant between April 1st and July 31st. So get those in. All purchases are to be made in 2023 with invoices submitted no later than October 31st. Submit the application to ACCG Insurance at accg.org. The originals are not necessary. The opportunity to receive these grants funds is just one of the many benefits of being a member of the ACCG Workers' Compensation Fund. Probably your biggest benefit is having Ashley, Dina, and Joe Dan at the ready. And then should you have any questions about the grant program, you can contact me or Ashley and or people out there. So I see some questions out here. I know we've run over a little bit. Where could I find the information in regards to HR? James, can you expand on that? And here's another question. Will employee safety grants be sent out in a brochure? I'll be sending out that link within my email. So you should be getting that. Are there any other questions and or comments? Ashley and Dina, you get any questions or comments that you want to provide?
I'll post that link for the HR helpline.
Okay.
Do that in here somewhere.
If you want to send me that, I'll put it in my email to everybody.
I just shot it over to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can actually, it gives you a summary of what the service is all about, as well as the ability to reach out to Gerard and Davis. They are the ones that have been servicing this program for a few years, and they're doing an excellent job for us. and a lot of you guys are taking advantage of it. So it's lost control for employment-related practices, basically, because if you can do these things right on the front end, it could save you on the back end, having your documentation in place.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Well, thank you all so very much. I really appreciate your time. I hope you all have a safe and productive week. Again, always remember, you got a questions, you can just email or pick up the phone and give me a call. We're here to assist you in any way that we can, and we want to help you, partner with you to help reducing risk in your particular areas. So thank you so very much. You guys all have a great day, and we will talk later.
Dan?